One day, the beautiful Pocahontas had a troubling dream about a spinning arrow. She went to visit her ancient friend, Grandmother Willow, to ask her advice about the dream. She asked Grandmother Willow, "What is my path?" Grandmother Willow told her about the spirits in the earth, water, and the sky. Listen to the spirits and they will guide you. Pocahontas climbed to the top of the tree's branches. She felt the wind blow around her and saw strange white clouds in the distance. The clouds were the sails of a ship that carried strangers to her land. That afternoon, Pocahontas spotted an adventurous man exploring the forest. For some reason, she was drawn to him. She followed him, and he turned to see who was near. John Smith and Pocahontas stared at each other for several minutes. John had never seen such a mysterious and beautiful woman. Pocahontas was scared, but John assured her he was not going to hurt her. Pocahontas did not understand his language, but rather listened with her heart. She introduced herself. "I'm Pocahontas," she said as they shook hands. They began to talk, and soon they bonded in a way that both had never experienced before. John met her friend the raccoon and hummingbird. Pocahontas guided John through her forest home, showing him the gentleness of a mother bear with her cubs. They listened to gray wolves cry and watched eagles fly to the tops of the sycamore trees. John was realizing that people had a lot to learn, and with Pocahontas as his teacher, he began to hear the voices in the mountains and even see colors in the wind. Pocahontas showed him how no one owned the land. Pocahontas went back to her village and showed her friend Nakuma her new friend John Smith. Nakuma was worried, as she had been warned that settlers were dangerous. Pocahontas made Nakuma promise not to tell anyone, as she left to take John to meet Grandmother Willow. Grandmother Willow advised Pocahontas that John was a good soul. Pocahontas was so very happy, and so was John. John left to return to his camp. When he was gone, Grandmother Willow suggested to Pocahontas that perhaps she had found her path. Back in her village, her friend Nakuma sent out a warrior to find John Smith. When Pocahontas returned to her village, the warrior had taken John prisoner. Pocahontas fell to her knees crying. Nakuma was so sorry for what she had done and told Pocahontas, "I am so sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing." Pocahontas visited John in the prisoner's teepee. John told Pocahontas, "I would rather die tomorrow than live 100 years without knowing you." Pocahontas needed some help, and she went to visit Grandmother Willow. As she was walking, her raccoon friend gave her a compass he had snuck from John's bag earlier. The compass's arrow was spinning around. "My dream," said Pocahontas. She knew she must return to save John from the warriors. She protected him but he had already been wounded. Heavy-hearted, they both knew he must return home to survive. "We will always be in each other's hearts," they agreed, as they shared a tender kiss goodbye. As Pocahontas watched his ship sail away, the wind touched them both once again. The end. Once upon a time, there was a man and his wife that had wanted a baby for so long, but had never had one. One day, the wife gave her husband the awesome news that they had waited so long for. They were going to have a baby. They lived in a house overlooking a big garden full of fresh vegetables and flowers. Sadly, the garden was protected by a high wall with barbed wire on the top. The mighty witch who lived there wanted no one in her garden. Everyone was very scared of the mighty witch. One day, the wife was so hungry for the fresh radishes. She saw them growing in the witch's garden, but she knew she could not have them. Although she really, really wanted them, she thought she might die if she did not have them. Her husband worried so much about her. She told him, "I think I will die unless I can have some of those radishes that grow in the witch's garden." Her husband waited for nightfall so he could climb over the wall to get her some of the witch's radishes. He got her some and climbed back over. She made a big radish salad, and it made her feel so much better. But she knew she wanted more radishes. So her husband snuck over the wall at night to pick more radishes. As he was climbing back over the wall, the witch was standing right below him. "How dare you steal my radishes?" said the witch. "My wife thought she would die if I did not get them for her. I am very sorry." "If this is true," said the witch, "you can have all the radishes you want, on one condition. You must promise to give me your child to raise as my own." The man was so scared he agreed to whatever she said just to get away. When the beautiful child was born, the witch came and took her away, just as she had threatened. She named her Rapunzel, which means radish. Rapunzel grew more and more beautiful every day, and on her 12th birthday, the witch locked her up in a high tower deep in the woods. The tower had no stairs, no door, only a small window. Rapunzel had beautiful long hair that had never been cut, and when the witch wanted to go up to see her, she would cry, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The witch would climb up her hair to see her. This went on for years. One day, a prince was riding by the tower and heard Rapunzel singing. He looked at the tower but had no idea how to get in. So he left. But he came by the next day and saw the witch crying, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And he saw the beautiful girl who sang, let down her hair for the witch to climb up to see her. The prince returned at dusk and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel could not believe it when the young prince appeared, and it was not the witch. They fell in love at first sight. They made a plan for Rapunzel to escape. The witch found this out and cut off Rapunzel's hair and hid her away far from the tower. That night, the witch waited for the prince. He cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The witch threw out Rapunzel's hair, and he climbed up. To his surprise, it was the witch, not Rapunzel. The witch cursed him. "You will never see again," and with that, he was blind. For some time he wandered the forest, hoping to hear Rapunzel singing again. And then, one day, he heard her singing. He followed her voice and found her. They hugged and Rapunzel cried, so happy to see him again. One of her tears fell on his face, and a miracle happened. He could see again. "Oh, I am so happy to see you again," said the prince. And then another miracle happened. Rapunzel's beautiful hair grew back, as long and shiny as it had been. The prince took Rapunzel to his kingdom far away from the witch, where they lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, a lovely mermaid named Ariel rescued a drowning prince from a shipwreck. Ariel's father had forbade her to swim to the surface, but she had to save the prince. Ariel wanted to be part of the human world so badly. Somehow she would find a way. As she touched the prince's face, she wished with all her heart that she could stay on the beach and dance with this man of her dreams. As the prince lay unconscious, she sang to him. "What would I do to see you smiling at me?" she sang. Her father's trusted friend tried to convince Ariel that being under the sea was her home, and she would be much happier living her life there instead of the human world. The Sea King had asked his friend to keep an eye on his daughter. But despite all the king's friend's efforts, he could not convince her because she was in love with the prince. The fish, her only best friend, was the only one who understood her. Her fish friend surprised Ariel with a statue of the prince that had sunk with the shipwreck. "Oh, thank you so much, my friend," Ariel said. "The statue looks exactly like him." Just then, her father, the Sea King, found Ariel in her secret grotto with her collection of things from the world above the sea. He destroyed all of her treasures in an attempt to protect her from the dangers of the human world. Ariel was so upset.
Oh no.
She sought out the help of the Sea Witch. The Sea Witch made a deal with Ariel. In exchange for the mermaid's voice, the witch would transform Ariel's mermaid tail into legs. The Sea Witch told Ariel she would remain human only if she received a kiss of true love before the sunset on the third day. As Ariel wiggled her newly found toes, the Sea King's trusted friend knew he had to tell the king. But he knew Ariel would be so sad as a mermaid. The king's friend agreed to help Ariel find the prince. Ariel's seagull friend helped her find a dress, and it wasn't long before the prince arrived. "You are the one!" he exclaimed. "The one I have been searching for!" Ariel nodded but could not speak. "But the girl who rescued me had the most beautiful voice," said the prince. "Perhaps you are not the girl I have been searching for." Still, the prince helped her to the castle, and they had dinner that night. Ariel made the prince laugh for the first time in weeks. He showed her around his kingdom the next day, and was enchanted by her enthusiasm for everything, from horses to puppet shows. The prince thoroughly enjoyed Ariel, and that night they went for a quiet, romantic boat ride. As the prince leaned in to kiss Ariel, the Sea Witch made her pet eels tip the boat. Then the Sea Witch hypnotized the prince and transformed herself, pretending to be his mysterious dream girl. She arranged a wedding right away to make sure all of Ariel's plans would fail. Ariel's seagull bird friend gathered all of her ocean friends to help Ariel defeat the sea witch's evil plans. Her friends fought the sea witch and won, and Ariel's voice was restored. And the spell on the prince was broken. He realized Ariel was his true love, but it was too late, and Ariel was a mermaid again. The evil sea witch dragged Ariel back into the sea. But the strong prince would not lose his true love again, and he fought and destroyed the evil sea witch. The Sea King and his trusted friend watched. And the Sea King could see how much his daughter loved the prince. So he granted her wish to marry the prince. All of Ariel's great sea friends applauded as the prince and Ariel were married, and they lived happily ever after. One day, the infant son of research scientists who were working in the jungle wandered off when they were not looking. The small baby boy was found by Bagheera, the very nice Black Panther. Bagheera thought the baby would be safer with the wolves and their baby cubs. Bagheera left the baby for the mother wolf to find. The mother wolf named the boy Mowgli, and they agreed to raise the boy with her wolf cub. Mother wolf always worried about Shere Khan, the great tiger, coming to take the child away from them. Bagheera taught Mowgli the rules of the jungle and everything he needed to know about all the animals. Bagheera was always there to protect him. The wolves told Bagheera he must take Mowgli back to the human village, where he would be safe from Shere Khan. Bagheera agreed to take Mowgli to the human village. But when he tried, Mowgli got very upset and said he wanted to stay in the jungle with all his animal friends. Mowgli ran off deep into the jungle, where he met a nice new jungle bear friend named Baloo. Baloo and Mowgli played and had a great time. They met some monkeys and their king, who wanted to know how to make fire. Bagheera caught up with Baloo and Mowgli and said they had to get Mowgli to the village. But Mowgli ran away again. He wanted to stay in the jungle. Bagheera and Baloo searched for Mowgli. But the fierce tiger Shere Khan had found Mowgli first. Mowgli, who had grown up around animals his whole life, was not the least bit afraid of Shere Khan, the great tiger. This made Shere Khan very angry. Shere Khan bared his great fangs and let out a giant tiger roar and leapt towards Mowgli. Just then, Bagheera and Baloo arrived. Baloo the bear grabbed the great tiger by the tail and then threw him to the ground with a thud. Baloo had gotten there just in time to save Mowgli. Shere Khan lashed about trying to reach Baloo, but Baloo hung on tight to his tail. Shere Khan tried to shake Baloo loose and cracked his strong tail like a whip. Suddenly, a big storm rose up, and a huge lightning bolt hit a big tree and started a fire. Mowgli knew right away how to help Baloo with the fight against Shere Khan. Shere Khan was very afraid of fire. Mowgli took a branch that was on fire, and he ran towards the great tiger. Shere Khan was so afraid of the fire in Mowgli's hand that he ran away deep into the jungle. Bagheera and Baloo cheered. They both knew they would never see Shere Khan around their jungle parts again. Mowgli, Bagheera, and Baloo promised they would never be parted by anything again. They would always be best friends, no matter what. Just then, at the edge of the jungle river, Mowgli saw something he had never seen before. It was a beautiful girl. The beautiful girl was getting water just outside the man's village edge by the river. Bagheera and Baloo were sad, but only for a few moments, as they knew Mowgli had to leave to go to the man village with the girl. They both knew it was the right thing for Mowgli to do. They both saw Mowgli smile as he helped the girl with her water jugs at the river's edge. Then Mowgli waved as he headed towards the man village with the girl. Mowgli's friends knew it was where Mowgli really belonged. They would always be friends no matter where they all lived. Bagheera and Baloo knew they had done the right thing by helping Mowgli find his way safely to his new home, and they all lived happily ever after.